Hello and welcome everyone. In this video I will show how I've painted the Spinosaurus model kit. I will be covering all steps to get to this finished result. As the first step, I have cleaned and assembled the models and then filled some of the gaps using liquid green stuff. I've kept some of the pieces separate to make it easier to paint them. As this model is made out of vinyl, I used super glue for the assembly and then an acrylic based polyurethane primer as the first layer of paint. I begin by adding a layer of black primer followed by a light dusting of white primer. As the next step, the entire model is base coated using royal light grey. A few darker tones of grey are then added to some of the recesses and the upper body. Next, I'm adding some white to the middle and some random areas. To help support the model while painting, I'm using this packaging foam. I saved this from the T-Rex model from one of my previous builds. Using dark blue-gray, I'm then painting a pattern of spots covering most of the back and the legs. When this was done, I started painting the inside of the mouth. I've used beige red as the base color. I also painted the tongue in this color. I'm then adding some shadows using red terracotta. As the next step, I'll be swapping the normal nozzle cap on my airbrush with this splatter cap to make a random spots effect. With this piece attached, the airbrush will now splatter the paint instead of the normal paint flow. To add another effect, I'll be using this foam sponge material and then spray a darker tone of color through it. I've added some rust color to the head as the base coat and then follow this up with a more red tone. Some random spots were then added using dark grey-blue. As the next step, I've started base coating the dental wear using bone white. This is then given a thin layer of sepia wash. I then gave the inside of the mouth a wash of Reichland Flesh Shade. Afterwards, I gave the eyes some color using duck egg green and black. Using some masking putty, I masked some random markings on the sail and then go over this using Mediterranean blue. I then outlined them using some dark grey. The sail was then given some more color using various grey tones. I also added some more spots on the sail using the same colors I used earlier. The claws were then given a layer of black-grey. When these were done, I started on finishing the sail. I've added the same combination of colors as I used on the head. I've made these colors a bit richer by adding a thin layer of burnt umber ink. Using the foam sponge, I also made some random spots on the sail using acrylic sepia ink. The blue markings were then highlighted by mixing in some white to the base color. In order to make the grey tones a bit warmer, I'll be adding a mix of brown and grey to act as a filter on most of the skin. I also mixed in some sepia ink to make it a bit darker. In preparation for the oil wash I'll be adding, I gave the model a layer of satin varnish. To make this wash, I've mixed some oil paint with odorless white spirit. I've used burnt umber to cover the red areas. When this was done, I also added a few grey tone washes over the skin. After letting this wash dry for about an hour, I clean up some of the excess wash from the raised areas. This is done using a sponge and a tiny amount of white spirit. To finish up the model and seal in the paint layers, I'm adding a layer of equal parts satin and matte varnish. The scenic base that came with the model I then covered using a mixture of acrylic paste, paint and some coarse sand. As well as the base, the kit also comes with this model, which I painted in the color scheme inspired by some freshwater fish. It's a really nice model, even though the other side feels a bit empty. It's then attached onto the base as well as a few decorations. To add a tiny bit of fresh blood to the model, I'll be using some Tamiya Clear Red mixed with Tamiya Smoke. This clear red color by itself is a bit too bright for my liking, so I'm making it a bit darker by adding this color. With the model finished, we've reached the end of this video. As always, many thanks to my patrons for helping support this channel. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video and to see you in the next one. Until then, thank you for watching and take care.